Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm doing a YouTube video a little bit early, but I have decided that this week I am done trading. Yes, we didn't take a trade this morning, but we did see something. But what was going through my head was, you know what, we've had a pretty consolidating week. We kept trading around the new week opening gap. That's something I don't really like to see when we're trading, just because that means that we're not going to be having a very trending market. So I decided to cut my trading early and start the weekend early. Yes, I'll be watching the markets and seeing what they do, and then doing a daily recap after the markets are closed, just kind of going over what had happened in the markets. But I am done trading for the week. A little update on our Top Step account. I believe we took one loss this week, and that's totally fine. So we are in some drawdown right now. But next week's a new week. I'm hoping we'll get a little bit more momentum next week. We'll kind of see what happens. For our news next week, we don't have too much, but I'm expecting that we'll just see what happens, right? So with that being said, we're just gonna jump into the charts really quick, kind of go over what I saw this morning, and essentially, yeah, just get into work. So let's start on the daily time frame. Of course, we are trading inside this daily fair value gap range. I potentially wanted to see it come down to the consequent encroachment of that range, and then the low of this new week opening gap. Yesterday, we actually managed to reach our sell levels, which was amazing to see. Again, this happened in the afternoon after the 2 p.m. news, so we were kind of expecting that. So yeah. Next week, I'm not sure how we're gonna open. I mean, I would like to see some of this be filled in, hopefully get a run lower, but we'll kind of go see what's happening next week. I mean, I'll keep you guys in the loop and everything. So let's jump down to the 1 hour. Again, there wasn't much to go on this morning. We did have that nice run yesterday, and then we traded right back up to this new week opening gap range, which is something I didn't want to see. However, it's totally fine. Like, this happens, consolidation happens, you know, we had consolidating week. So not too much on the 1 hour. Again, I was just seeing what could potentially be reached. Let's drop down to the 15. All right, so on the 15-minute time frame, I was like, okay, I don't want to see this fair value gap reached if we are going to go lower. I actually, if this would have happened, I would have liked to see the market trade above it, come back down, and then go higher. But I didn't want to see this reached if we were going to sell short, which is what I wanted. I wanted to see these relative equal lows traded to, taking out the low of the week and making a new low of the week, potentially trading down into this low of the new week opening gap and the consequent encroachment of the daily fair value gap. You know what, it could totally happen. We're still open. I mean, it's only 10:50. I usually trade until 11, so it totally could happen. I liked this fair value gap right here. I extended it. I wanted to see it either respect price and go higher, or break through, use it as an inversion fair value gap, which we can see it did. I'll drop down to the lower time frames. So we did have news today at 10 a.m. But again, like, we traded down, creating these relative equal lows at 9:30. Came back up, took out this high one more time, that buy side liquidity, and then we traded down lower. This is our 15-minute fair value gap inversion level. I like how we traded up into the new week opening gap here. The bodies were respecting that gap. I liked all of that. Yes, I wanted to see these relative equal lows taken. They did. We got a little bit past it, taking out these lows and into this area right here, not completely filling in the opening range gap. And now we're trading higher. We traded back into this 15-minute inversion fair value gap. I'll go down to the 1 minute and just kind of explain my thought process on this potential trade entry. And again, like, you know, I love those low resistant liquidity runs, but today was all high resistance, all, you know, this week has just been very consolidating, and I'm hoping we'll have a better week next week. and I'm not concerned because there will be new setups, new trade opportunities every single day, and I'm totally okay with that. So again, we created these relative equal lows here, traded higher, taking out this buy side liquidity. After 9:30, I like that. Yes, traded a bit lower, breaking market structure. We had this 1 minute fair value gap. I really like this level. However, we had news at 10 a.m. and it was red folder news. So I was like, okay, we could see some volatility. I wasn't going to get in the markets right at 10 a.m. just because I wanted to see how it would have played out. Of course, we traded into the 1 minute fair value gap, closing it perfectly, had a little bit of a wick above and then dropped down lower, keeping these relative equal lows intact, which is what we wanted to see. And then I saw this kind of 1 minute inversion fair value gap within the 15-minute fair value gap. So I just extended that, and this would have been my trade setup right here, coming into this 1 minute fair value gap. As you can see, I have this marked out. But then we just kind of like, we're trading up and down, taking out the highs, taking out the highs, taking out the highs, taking out the lows, 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 you know? So it was like a very consolidating, and I get it too, like it's the 1 minute charts, so we're gonna see some of this sometimes, but the fact that we were like, okay, 1, 2, 3 higher highs, 1, 2, 3 lower lows before we could even reach the relative equal lows, I was like, I'm just gonna sit this one out. I'm not gonna enter the markets just because I don't really like how it's moving. And then, of course, after taking out that high one more time, we traded lower. And yes, on the 5 minute time frame, the bodies do respect this new week opening gap pretty nicely. But again, I just wasn't really interested in taking this trade just because it's just not very clean in my opinion. So I didn't take this trade, but it was cool to see how this trade did play out eventually, coming back down. We did trade 9.25 points. Again, my objective would have been the fill of this opening range gap. We have yet to get there. And then we traded back up higher, back into the 15-minute inversion fair value gap. And again, I just don't really like how the market's been trading around this new week opening gap. And don't get me wrong, like obviously we can trade these markets, but for me, like sitting through this, it was just like, and I wasn't even in the trade. Sitting through this, I was like, I don't know, are we gonna break this high? Are we gonna break this high? You know, I really wanted to see these relative equal lows taken, but the fact it was taking so long, I was like, what is going on? Again, totally can trade this market, but it's just not something that I personally like trading. And you know what? That's totally fine. I'm totally okay with that. I will be watching and seeing how we do trade into the afternoon, but I just wanted to make this YouTube video really quickly, kind of explaining, hey, you know, it's okay to not trade these markets. There's always next week. I mean, I don't really like when the markets just trade around the new week opening gap all week. It just doesn't give us those extended moves. Yes, we can catch 5 points. Yes, all of that. But when we're trying to aim for 10-point runs, it's just not ideal. It's not an ideal market to be trading in. And I mean, am I upset that I didn't get in this trade? Not really. I mean, sure, it did eventually hit our 5-point take profit. Yes, we did see it happen, but just this back and forth movement in here, I was like, this is just not ideal for me. So yes, we will see what next week brings us. I hope you all have an amazing weekend. I'm gonna keep this video short. And yeah, we'll see what next week brings us. If we can get some runs, if we could get some trending markets, that would be great. So cheers to you guys. Thank you for being my support. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching these videos. I really appreciate you all, and I hope you all have an amazing, beautiful weekend. Thanks, guys. We'll see you on Monday. Bye for now.